The Coercive Acts, aka the Intolerable Acts, were a series of 5 laws passed by British Parliament in 1774 as a consequence for the occurrence of the Boston Tea Party. The acts consisted of the Boston Port Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the Administration of Justice Act, the Quartering Act, and the Quebec Act.
The Boston Port Act.
This act closed the city of Boston's harbors, which disallowed the importing of goods until compensation was given for the 342 crates of tea, equivalent to $1 million today, that were dumped into the harbor.
The Massachusetts Government Act.
This act completely restricted democratic town meetings within Massachusetts and revoked the colony's charter that was instituted in 1691.
The Administration of Justice Act.
This act aimed to protect British officials charged with even capital offenses during law enforcement by granting them a hearing in England or an entirely different colony.
The Quartering Act.
This act required colonists to house and quarter British troops within their homes against their will.
The Quebec Act.
This act extended freedom of worship to Catholics in Canada and guaranteed the Canadians a continuation of their judicial system. Reasons for establishment.
From a British perspective, the Coercive Acts were a form of punishment enacted by Parliament upon the colony of Massachusetts, mainly in response to the Boston Tea Party. They also thought they were trying to maintain peace and bring the colonies back under the king's submission. From a colonial perspective, Britain's Tea Act placed a hefty tax on tea, one that the colonists deemed to be ridiculous. The Boston Tea Party was committed as a result of this, which is exactly why Parliament's outrage can be understood. Many colonists saw the Coercive Act as a violation of their constitutional rights, their natural rights, and their colonial charters. They therefore viewed the acts as a threat to the liberties of all of British America, not just Massachusetts.
Reactions to the event.
British perspective, colonial reactions have provoked reactions within Britain. They attempted to keep their control over the colonies, but despite the acts, the colonies still managed to stand their ground. Colonial perspective, Continental Association was established in which the colonies unified to boycott English goods in response to new taxes. They also agreed to defy the Intolerable Acts to stop paying taxes. The acts had sparked the creation of the Continental Congress.
Info to know.
Only food and firewood were permitted in the port once the Boston Port Act was established. Massachusetts was reduced to a royal colony once the Government Act was implemented and had to face a military government directed by General Thomas Gage. The First Continental Congress was held in Philadelphia. Historical significance.
Overall, the Intolerable Acts inspired a great sense of rebellion throughout a majority of the 13 colonies, along with Massachusetts essentially unifying the colonies as it received lots of sympathy and reverence from neighboring settlements. Ultimately, this led to the first meeting of the Continental Congress in 1774, to once and for all be able to discuss the issues at hand.